Welcome, everyone. I'm Rick Moore with MSONEWSports and really thrilled to be joined with our second annual MSS hosting of the Mayor's Roundtable, North Shore Mayors. And thank you, one and all. We have this morning from Amesbury, Mayor Cassandra Gove, from Gloucester, Mayor Safathia Romeo Taken, from Lynn, Mayor Thomas McGee, from Newburyport, Mayor Holliday, from Lawrence, Mayor Kendrys Vasquez, and from Salem, Mayor Kim Driscoll, and we may be joined later on by Ted Betancourt of Peabody. Thank you, one and all, for being here. Good morning to everyone. I'd like to start with, I'm going to try to group these, the discussion sort of geographically or by topic, in that I know there's a lot of commonality among the communities in how you deal with things. And of course, each of you has a unique experience that you have to follow up on. So that said, I want to start up north in Amesbury with Mayor Cassandra Gove. And Mayor Gove, I'd like you to start us off in how Amesbury has navigated the pandemic and where things are now as the sun begins to shine.
Isn't that true? The sun begins to shine. It's great. We always said there were brighter days ahead, and summer has come early. We can feel it in many ways. So we're doing really well up here. I am grateful to share the floor with Donna Holliday, our mayor in Newburyport. We have worked together in many ways to get through this. We, along with some other neighboring communities, I think that there are 8 or 9 of us that formed the Lower Merrimack Valley Regional Collaborative to bring a regional COVID vaccination clinic to our area. It was highly successful. They are just winding down now, but really have been the focus of our attention to administer over 20,000 doses of vaccine to this region. They have contributed more than 10,000 volunteer hours to make that possible. We had people who came back every weekend and spent time in our observation area. We have nurses and pharmacy technicians and parking attendants and just so many people who made that possible. So that was really critical to getting us through this in this area. And again, just really grateful for their work and to the partnership of Mayor Holliday and our other neighboring communities. Of course, we've done a lot to support our businesses. I'm sure we can talk more about that, but we've seen a significant decline in our cases, which is great. We still have testing highly available and vaccines available at other locations too. So we are certainly feeling like we have reached the other side of this.
Mayor Holliday.
Thank you. And I can't thank Mayor Gove enough in terms of us coming together to, really develop this Lower Merrimack Regional Vaccination Clinic. It was so successful that in collaboration with Beth Israel Leahy in Anna Jake's Hospital, we did a clinic also at our senior community center, since obviously that was closed. And, they also administered thousands of vaccines. So between the 2 clinics up in the North Shore, up in the northern part of the state, we really tackled a lot of arms, and I'm very, very pleased with where we are in terms of the number of people. I think we're at 71% of the residents in Newburyport have at least one vaccine. So we're really doing well. And it's exciting to see that we had a shared streets grant and we're able to build these beautiful parklets downtown Newburyport so that restaurants are thrilled. We're opening up, we're doing marketing, we're trying to bring back, I think one of the hardest hit, there were a lot of challenges, a lot of businesses that have been impacted, but our cultural, theater, arts, trying to help bring all of those organizations back, our theaters open. Exciting that Yankee Homecoming is returning, our big festival. There's going to be music in the city there. It's just very, very exciting. And so it's been a long, long, challenging year. And it's nice to see the sun coming out. And yes, we are, we all thought that there would be an end coming. And I think we're all I was taken by surprise to see that, you know, the date was rolled back from August 1 to May 29th, but I know that everyone is very, very pleased. A lot of questions still out there from a lot of businesses. What do I do? Can I still require masks? Can I require to see vaccination cards? So there's still a lot of unanswered questions. So what happens when the governor lifts all the emergency orders, and we have 60 days in terms of dealing with, you know, the orders for outdoor dining, and how do we bridge those timeframes to get into the fall. So we've been working with our state leaders in way too many Zoom calls, and I'm sure we'll all be glad to be off of Zoom sooner than later. But so we're working together in terms of addressing some of those, you know, voting. What do we do about hybrid meetings? Because the participation that's one positive that's come out of the pandemic, is we've had so much more participation in our meetings. But you know, it's just exciting, and I look forward to, you know, not too far in the distant future where we can all come together and meet again in person.
I wonder if I could back up to Mayor Gove for 1 second, because Mayor Holliday mentioning and events coming back online now. And I think each of you probably has something that, or a lot of things that were canceled last year that are in the works. What about in Amesbury, Mayor Gove?
Yeah, absolutely. Our events are coming back too, which is really exciting. Newburyport has their Yankee Homecoming event coming back, and we have our Amesbury Days events coming back, which is our week-long celebration that leads up to the 4th of July. So ours is the last week of June, a variety of things, including comedians and concerts, kids' nights, and all sorts of entertainment planned in the downtown area. So that's really exciting. We also have a really big car show. I know Newburyport does too, and those are happening in September. They had pushed their date off a little bit, not knowing when the restrictions would be lifted, and we have thousands of people who flock to the downtown and just meander and enjoy the display. So we wanted to allow that to happen. So that will be in September. You'll see the Carriage Town Car Show and Amesbury Days last week of June. So there'll be a lot of other things too. We have a regular Thursday night series in the amphitheater. The amphitheater is a space we're using our shared spaces grant for. So that's getting a little facelift, being softened up a little bit, and we're putting those finishing touches on now. So it'll be a nice place to come this summer. We hope people will come down and check it out. Fantastic.
Mayor Taken, you know, you have a community right on the waterfront, primarily 53 miles of water line, I believe the Coast Guard has to take care of, and the harbor master, similar to what is up in Newburyport. And I do know that the Fiesta couldn't get stuff together in time, but other things are opening up. Mayor Taken, what's happening in Gloucester?
Well, there's still, the Horribles Parade is trying to get their act together. It's kind of hard. I mean, you know, they all knew it was August 1st. Nobody thought that, you know what, next thing you know, it's going to be right away in June. So as you know, the Fiesta is the last weekend and it's about 5 days of production, but it takes about 9 months of planning and fundraising. It's not a city event, and people have to understand that, you know, city events are city events, and then other organizations that like the Horribles Parade, even though we work with them, but it's also a private event that does the fundraising to do that. Same thing with the fireworks. We contribute a little, but we don't contribute all of it. And the fireworks will happen this year in July. We'll have a little concert on the boulevard to hopefully, you know, start off the summer. We usually start it with the Fiesta. Everyone dresses their whites. It was very difficult. I mean, we're very fortunate that, you know, we do have so many Zoom meetings and mayor's meetings. And I was telling, you know, Tom earlier that, you know what, he's not going to retire. He's going to come next year, work for me. He's going to be one of the park rangers that we settled. And Donna's retiring. But like I said, they added so much. As in 2015, I was interim, and you know, I was lost. You know, as we all think we all can be mayor as a city councilor, and then all of a sudden you're sitting in that seat and you're going like, what the hell did I just do? And how do you do it? But when you have other people who actually, you know, mentor you and say it's okay, and it's, you know what, you stand your ground, this is what you need, you got to work this and do that. And with everyone with the MMA, and like I say to everyone, you know, and no offense to, you know, men, but, you know, she, her, and us, you know, Donna and Kim have been so helpful. And I wouldn't be able to be where I am without their inspirations and all of them. Like I said, Dan from Lawrence. I mean, when you think something happened to you and then you see what happens to him, all of a sudden they just got over, the gas, and now you got the pandemic and you got this. It's difficult. It's difficult because everything's the mayor's fault, no matter what happens. And we're just lucky that the pandemic wasn't blinked on us, but they could have if they would have. And so we're lucky because we did have interagency task force set up in the beginning, where we had actually twice a week in the beginning of calls to all the local services and agencies of what are you doing and what's needed and what's not. We're very fortunate that the YMCA built another YMCA, so they had open space at the old building that we got to house all our homeless for the whole time, from March all the way to July. And people supported, breakfast and lunch and volunteers and donations to do that. And just for action stepping up, because you know what, you didn't realize what it took. It's so easy to say, well, we're going to do this. And then they stepped up, but you know what, they would never do it again. It's so much, like they said, it's so much that it's very difficult. You know what, it's very difficult. You really need a lot of planning, but they did it. And I'm so proud of action. And it wasn't like, city funding. We went through all the grants that we needed. We got help from the state, just like the Grace Center, extended stay during this whole time at the Gloucester House. I mean, you have a whole restaurant in the beginning, the view, it was amazing what they did. But now I think everyone's getting itchy, but I figured everyone's going to be, okay, let's see in person, no more Zooms, no more. They're all, my community is saying, no, we want the Zooms. We want them even during city council meeting. We want to have direct coverage. We don't want to be in there. We think you should do live and you all go in there and then we still be able to Zoom. Some people loving the Zooms, they don't want to actually meet because people now in their homes, instead of running around, they have like a meeting at 5, then there's another one at 6. They can go all 3, where before they couldn't because they can't run from one meeting and then get to the other and go around. And some of my seniors said, it's easier for them to just watch. So we're going to think what's going on. We also understand that there's some questions about the outside dining. We're trying to continue some of the programs that we have. We know that, in August, everyone that came forward with events, they're doing events, Waterfront Festival. We're going to do the Schooner Fest. We have 26 committed schooners to come in. The Columbia is going to come back. So I'm looking forward to that one. And we're going to be doing, the bazaars that everyone does. And we're going to be doing some of the block parties. We don't know about the outdoor concerts because we had to change things around for the farmers market. So they couldn't do stage 4. So we put them down at Harbor Loop, and that's where we have the concert. So that's going to be kind of what we can do. We have I4C2. There'll be, fall harvest things that we're still planning and concerts. And, we're hoping that, the state of emergency does get lifted and we continue to do our lives that we need to do. And we're appreciative of all the help that I've gotten from the volunteers and the boards and commission and the administration, the Polito and Bacon administrations for some of the fundings that we'd be able to do things. And I'm looking forward to the APA because the fact is, at least we have 2 years to think of what we need to do. I mean, operational skills and operational stuff is difficult. I would love to say, okay, Fiesta, here's some extra money, or we have some, the budget's done, we have all this, but we don't. And unfortunately, it does take time to plan. Our events now committee is meeting. We have like a special events committee, so they don't have to keep going through the council list. They go through a small board of one of fire, police, and city clerk, city officials, building inspector, board of health, and they say this is what we want to do. We have a lot of people who want to do the road races that are coming. Some people said, well, can't we just do the Dory races, the Fiesta, or can't we just do that? That's all entitled to one group, and it's difficult because that was our whole survival in this, the city during the kickoff when I was younger. It's all part of the culture of the Italian community, Portuguese community, and it's difficult. And people have to understand that you can't put something together one day, and it does take time. And so I'm looking forward to next year. I have to respect their wishes, and next year will be bigger and better. And maybe they'll be able to have even fireworks that they used to during the Fiesta. But we're opening up slowly. We're working with all the chambers, Discover Gloucester. We're working with the businesses to, for them for after the state emergency, their question is, can I still do the outside dining? Can I still do it? We're working on that. We're giving them information. I mean, and we're getting it just like they are slowly. It's not like every day we know what we're going to be able to do. So we work closely together to make sure that our cities get to open. We have 2 culture districts now, because the main streets and some of the programs we do, we're gonna have like a little trolley going down to both cultures. Going down to Rocky Neck and going down to Main Street and seeing the arts, the museums, to get that moving, because we're beautiful. We have, we have the Twin Lighthouses, 2 lighthouses you can see. We have a castle that you can go to, Hammond Castle, museums, just like all of our communities. We've got something unique that, we understand that you want to come to Gloucester for beaches. That's fine. Those are the beachgoers. Enjoy the white sand. That's okay. But we want our tourists to come back and be able to join everything else we have to offer, that you can do a whole tour. You can go to all of us on here. You can do this little tour that we all have something that someone else doesn't have. It's unique. You don't have to travel. You don't have to go on the plane and go far away. You can just, drive leisurely and come visit and stay one night at all of our communities. And, start now, because we don't have anything in June. We'll start in Amesbury, we'll go to Newbury, come to Gloucester, Salem, then, we'll go to Lawrence and Lynn, and there's so much. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll be able to get away. I don't know.
Well,
Which fine.
we could put together some kind of a commercial here for to send to New York State for them to offer the North Shore, and we can use that. But I want to continue this, if I may, Madam Taken. I want to meet Madam Mayor, excuse me, Mayor Taken. I'm nervous. I'm sorry, guys, but I'm very nervous.
That's okay. We all are.
I want to meet Mayor Vasquez in Lawrence, because he was thrust into a particularly difficult situation. Similar to Lynn, both communities were very hard hit by COVID. And also, of course, Mayor Rivera has moved on. So Mayor Vasquez, welcome. Great to meet you. And maybe
welcome. I haven't had a chance either. Welcome.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I am glad to be with this, group of fantastic mayors from throughout the state. Just the fact that I'm listening to each of you is very significant for me as mayor here of the city of Lawrence. And we've been working tirelessly to ensure that our community continues to be in the right track. As you mentioned, I took on leadership of the city in one of its most challenging times, right in the middle of a pandemic, while we're still recovering from the gas crisis that we had recently, as all of you are aware of. So in the city of Lawrence, we have so far vaccinated 42.6% of our population, which is relatively low in comparison to the rest of the state, and possibly the communities that are in this forum today. And that equates to 36,902 individuals that have received at least 1 dose of the vaccine. And there's a large hesitancy in community members, and that goes to the fact that we are an immigrant city. It's a community that doesn't necessarily always have trust in science due to their cultural beliefs. So that's something that we have been aggressively working on. And in order to address those challenges, we were the first city to actually open a call center that was for people to be able to register for the vaccine efforts in Spanish and English. And people were literally calling in live, and we had student workers answering these phone calls to register them for the vaccine. As you guys recall, when the first vaccines were coming out, it was for the 75 plus population. In our community, we have that technological gap that is broader than any other municipality in the state. So I had to address it heads on with providing access via telephone, and not just simply by logging in a online form, which is what we originally had. So we shifted immediately to phone services. We started doing pre-registration prior to the state doing pre-registration. We opened, our own city-run vaccination site in the heart of the Arlington neighborhood, which is the poorest neighborhood in the whole state of Massachusetts, where it was accessible to our community members walking distance. We are doing the mobile units as well in partnership with Lawrence General Hospital, as well as Greater Lawrence Family Health Center. And now, more recently, what we're doing is that we're bringing the vaccine to the folks where they are. And what do I mean by this is that we are literally going to restaurants and doing vaccination sites pop-ups. We set up a tent with pharmacists and nurses, and as the folks are coming in to buy their food, they're also getting vaccinated right on the spot. And we're doing this all across the city, and it is clearly having a very significant impact in getting to folks. and this is very touching because there was an elderly gentleman who qualified for the vaccine, months ago. And he kept saying, look, I know that the vaccine is in the city, but it just simply wasn't truly available for me as an individual because I didn't have transportation access. And we're a small community. We're only 6.9 square miles. So we're relatively smaller than any of you. But yet transportation continues to be a concern. So that's why we're bringing the vaccine to those folks there. And in terms of reopening, a couple of weeks back, I reopened all the parks and fields to allow our folks to be able to enjoy the outdoors as the weather's getting nicer. We're also doing the outdoor dining, and we're reviewing all of our, the orders that are currently in place to understand how we will get out of the red. The city of Lawrence is, I think, one of 2 municipalities that continue to be of the red based on the positivity rate. Our positivity rate right now is 5.3%, and we continue to do testing in the ballpark of 600 individuals daily, and that has remained over the last 3-4 months. 2 to 3 months, that has remained constant, but the positivity rate is slowly reducing, which we feel very proud of. But I think we still have more to do. And a lot of the challenges that we face here is the type of work that our community members do. They work, a lot of them, in warehouses, factories. They are frontline workers in bodegas, in which they are very close together. And when it comes to housing, the majority do not have the luxury of having a single family home. They have to live in multi-unit properties and multiple families living in one apartment. So social distancing within your own home is essentially impossible. And that's how we get clusters of folks continue to test positive for COVID. But I think we're definitely moving in the right trend. We're moving in the right direction, and I'm excited for that. We also brought celebrity individuals. Grammy Award winners have come. We brought them on board to help us launch a very aggressive marketing campaign for the vaccine effort. We have also Big Papi, in collaboration with state delegation, Senator Feingold, and other members of the state delegation. We have radio ads, with Big Papi essentially, advocating for the vaccine here in our community, because it's important that they hear from individuals that they trust, that they feel comfortable with. And we had a 4-time Grammy Award winner, Millie Quesada, who is known as the Queen of Merengue, come to the city of Lawrence to advocate for the vaccine. So we're being aggressive in our efforts, but at the end of the day, it comes down to cultural beliefs and oftentimes even religious belief that it creates a barrier for us to get to. And in order to do that, we're having serious conversations with the leaders of the different churches, regardless of the denomination, to explain to them the science behind the vaccine. So that way they can share it with, members of each of their individual churches. And the conversations have been very positive. I think we're moving forward with those church leaders, and they will play a very integral part in getting the rest of our community vaccinated. So.
Thank you very much, Mayor Vasquez, and as I said, great to meet you. I want to turn it over now to Mayor McGee up in Lynn, and Mayor McGee. Again, your city was very hard hit as well. So I'm sure there are similarities to what Lawrence has gone through. But how are you doing at this point?
Thank you, Rick. It's great to be on with all my colleagues and friends. We've been so connected separately, but by Zoom over the last 15, 16 months. Really gotten to know each other in much more close and intimate way in terms of our ability to know each other and what we've been dealing with together. So it's great to be on with all of my colleagues and friends, and to have Mayor Vasquez join us as part of this group, following in Mayor Rivera's footsteps as well. So yeah, we're very similar to what's going on in Lawrence. I think it's really important, to reflect on the numbers and what we've gone through. So I'll just go with today's numbers. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Lynn has, as of today, 17,663 total cases of COVID. 13 new cases were reported today with the testing. We are in the yellow now, we're outside of the red, but at one point we were up over 200 cases a day, really totally impacted. So really challenged, and so we've been focused, as everyone on this call has been, on getting people to get vaccinated. And we've, from the beginning, we're proactive. We partnered with MGHB, Mass General, Brigham, which is North Shore Medical Center, and Lynn Community Health Center, to create an operation here in Lynn that was able to get vaccinations and make them available. We were at one point up to 6,000 vaccinations a week, which was an amazing operation. And I want to thank the both of those operations, my health director of the Department of Health here, as well as firefighters, nurses, and volunteers who really helped put an operation in our the Lynn Tech Fieldhouse, helped that get off the ground as we started with our first responders, and then segued right into this amazing operation that now is allowing walk-ins. You can walk in, you don't need an appointment. You can walk in and still get vaccinations. We've gone down from the 6,000 cases a week to less than that, and it did tail off a bit last week, but it's starting to pick back up again. You know, we're at 1,500 to 2,000 a week in terms of vaccinations there, and we're doing a broad range of, out in the community. We were at the Cambodian Temple, at Catholic churches, other in the mosque, other different centers of faith in our community, giving those vaccinations out, senior centers. So we've got a robust mobile operation going on. We have a call center that allows people to call in and Spanish and English to get the vaccination appointments and let them know what we can do, what's available. We've had 2 teletown halls, both in English and Spanish, to really continue to get the word out. And so we've been.
I lost audio. Did you guys lose it too?
Tom, you're on mute. You've been on mute.
You're on mute.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm old school, so the technology as my staff continues to support me on, but being in person is something we all are looking towards. So I can't wait to be having these meetings and having these discussions together in person. Just to back to the numbers, we've so with all of the vaccinations going on, we're at 51%. Right now we have, as of May 19th, 41,000, roughly 41,000, a little over 41,000 residents fully vaccinated in the city. Close to 11,000 partially vaccinated, which is 51% of our population. Challenge, as Mayor Vasquez said, is the other members of our community that aren't getting vaccinated as robustly as people in the white community. Our Hispanic community, 27%, 31% of the Black community received their first dose, 19% of the Hispanic community, 23% of the Black community are fully vaccinated. So we still have a ways to go, but as our numbers go down, as the vaccinations continue, and I think more and more people, as we continue to reach out throughout our community, and I think an important piece of this discussion today is how important it is to get vaccinated, how safe it is, and how effective it is. And as the data comes out from day to day, as all of the mayors know, it really validates more and more how important vaccinations are for us to continue to open up and get back to normal. And so I think as we spread the word in our community, as people that have been vaccinated, as I have, my son, my 23-year-old twins, my son had his second vaccination last night. My daughter is fully vaccinated as of Saturday. It's been great for our family, what it means for us to know that we're all vaccinated and safe. My mother-in-law, all of us getting those vaccinations. It's the same thing for the rest of our community, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in or the reluctance. I think the real message is that it's so important for us to get past this. It's really important for all of our families to get this safe level of ability to be out in the community and get vaccinated. So there's opportunities across the board for people to get this vaccination in every one of these communities. And so I think the highlighting that on this discussion today is probably one of the most important things we can talk about. We can talk about where we're going and we're opening up and the support we've been given for businesses, but we continue to need to ensure that people understand how important this is and how safe it is and how effective it is. how effective it is. It's our way out to where we were before the pandemic. So we continue to work together to get there.
Thank you, Mayor McGee. Yeah, a breath of fresh air. Want to welcome aboard Beverly Mayor Mike Cahill. And Mr. Mayor, we're going to go to Salem and then we'll go to Beverly to talk about your COVID update. And then what I'd like to do, because time is running short, if we could just have a short, final statement from each of you after we talk to the mayors of Salem and Beverly. That would be awesome. And Mayor Driscoll, Salem is sandwiched in between Lynn and Beverly, and you're right on the coast as well. So you have many, many similarities with everyone who has spoken so far. And did I read that Haunted Happenings may be coming back?
Oh, yeah, with a real pent up demand, I'd say. So great to be with everyone. I think as Tom mentioned, the pandemic has brought us all closer. There's always been a great deal of collegiality on the North Shore amongst the mayors and town and city managers. I think we really see ourselves as a collective, not competitors, and want and root for each other on a regular basis. So great to see everybody on a sunny Friday. Like many have mentioned, I feel really grateful that we've had the strong partnership amongst each other and with the state. I don't think we'd be where we are as cities and towns without really strong leadership coming from the state level. It's great to be on the list of top states with 70% of the more people vaccinated. And these were fast and furious times early, whether it was getting a test or getting a vaccine. And I feel like all that work, emotion, anxiety, at the beginning was also partnered with a lot of hard work, trying to make sure we're being forward thinking. And I think many of us are in a good place. Still a lot of work to go. It feels like to me here in Salem, the last 25% of the folks who need to get vaccinated are going to be the hardest. Right? So we're currently at 56% of our population has had at least one dose of the vaccine, pushing hard, obviously, to boost those numbers. One of the gaps we're really seeing is among some of our young adults. So our 12 to 15-year-old population, we're actually 4 percentage points ahead of where the state's at. So our youngest eligible folks to be vaccinated, families are doing the right thing. Obviously, there's parents and caretakers involved in that. But when we start going to the 16 to 29-year-old categories, we're seeing gaps with folks who are not fully vaccinated. The state is at 55% in that whole 16 to 29 age group. And here in Salem, we're at 38%. So we're really going to take a targeted approach going forward to try and do some outreach, maybe even some incentives to that group who there's certainly some hesitancy, but I think a lot of it is just, if it's not right in their face, right, they're not going to do it. And we have mobile clinics, but for the most part, you have to go someplace, right, and get a vaccine. So we're going to try and see how we can be a little more agile, a little more nimbly, and also put some swag out there to get some folks interested in doing the right thing to keep us all safe. We're almost there. Like, it feels great. The weather's getting warm. All the outside dining's happening. Music is coming back. All those beloved community events. People are starting to ramp up for them. Scrambling. I think Mayor Safathia put it right. Like, they just don't turn back on when they've been turned off. So it's going to take a little bit of work, but people are excited to be in a position to even think about having 4th of July or, having one of the festivals that we've typically had, every summer. And certainly as we head into the fall. I'd also say it looks like there's a ton of pent up demand. I think all of our city centers are super busy with people who are happy to be able to see others and feel this jubilation that they have been vaccinated and they can do things. But we're also in that transition phase where there's still some hesitancy around, is everybody fully vaccinated? I know our merchants are a little nervous about, are folks going to walk through the doors and follow the right guidelines? Are there going to be, altercations around people who still want masks worn indoors? We're struggling with that a little bit, even with City Hall. We're going to be putting out some guidelines next week and probably leaning at this point towards requiring masks in City Hall and public buildings for a few more weeks or months as we think about our city's only 55% one dose in. So would like that percentage to be a little bit higher. But overall, I think there's an extra swing in everybody's step. I feel like the economic aspects of COVID are on the rise in terms of where people's headspace are at. And as city leaders, we'll have some resources due to the federal funding that's coming our ways to think about how we can recover from this pandemic with an even bigger boost and hopefully leverage some dollars for longer term economic prosperity as well. So excited to be with everyone and looking forward to a great 2021, and certainly one that we can actually see each other and be in a room, I think, most assuredly.
Thank you, Mayor Driscoll. And you mentioned the cooperation among the cities and towns in the area. And as I get together with you all, it's remarkable to me. This seems like a neighborhood meeting. It really does. From all over, a big neighborhood, but a neighborhood meeting. I want to bring on Mayor Cahill now from Beverly, and maybe your assessment, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, Rick, thanks so much. It's great to see everybody. I'd say what she said and what he said, what Mayor Driscoll and Mayor McGee said, and I'm sure what everybody else said before I was able to step into the meeting. So it's really good to see. And you're right, Rick, we love working together. So just a couple thoughts, and then I'll stop and try to do some more listening. But we also, I think we're all working on the same things and have been in terms of trying to help our the more challenged sectors of our economy survive and get ready to thrive again. And so our outdoor dining is back in full swing again. We just yesterday we're ordering, in some cases taking delivery, in other cases on some of our shared streets investments, things to make the outdoor dining both safer and also more pleasant. We also we're working on trying out. We've got a mobility hub that we've been done a lot of study for down at the Beverly Depot, and so the thought that as train ridership comes back, that's a spot in Beverly. It's one of the busier stations in the state. Beverly, Salem, and a couple others tend to be the busiest in the commuter lines. So we've got a mobility hub down at the depot where we want to make it so people can, they can. There eventually be bike shares, scooter shares, car shares. We're trying to get our bus route to run by there. It currently doesn't. Things like that. So we're using some shared streets money to try to pilot out a few things that may be that as we prove them out, maybe we then make bigger investments in the infrastructure down there at the train station. So just a couple things there. In terms of the summer, Rick, we're excited. We've got I think we all have our summer celebrations that didn't happen last year, and assuming that everything goes well over the next couple months and that this kind of blow the doors off reopening goes well for us and for our residents, we've got Beverly Homecoming coming back in early August. And that's, the two big events there. There are a lot of smaller events, but the two big ones that you want to pack as many people as you can down to Lynch Park are the annual Lobster Festival, and then the fireworks display that follows on 6 hours of concerts down at Lynch. So I mean, those are a couple of the bigger ones. We haven't had our Grand Prix bike race downtown in a couple of years, and we're working on trying to bring that back. So we hope that those things will come along and we'll be able to get out and enjoy them. Our parks and beaches, obviously, very important for all of us. And we're looking forward to, being able to see more people out enjoying themselves. To follow on what Mayor Driscoll said, the sensitivities around, around masks and other things. I mean, I'll just say for one, I'm fully vaccinated, but I'm also going to, keep my mask on in a lot of places. And so as we're trying to figure out workplace dynamics, as we're also trying to answer questions and help people sort through, how to interact out in the community, I think probably the message we're all trying to deliver, and I hope people are good to each other about, is just to, that sensitivity. If a business owner wants somebody to wear a mask coming into their store, well, that's their private property, even though they're opening it up to the public. If an employee wants to wear a mask, let's make sure that employer is good about that, right? So there's a lot, I think, that we're going to navigate with people's sensitivities about what is and isn't safe for them as individuals. I'm sure everybody's mentioned the various streams of federal money and what we can and can't do with it. And we're all sitting in multiple webinars a week these last couple of weeks trying to decipher the federal rules, because we know we have residents who are struggling and we want to help them. We know we have small business owners struggling, we want to help them. we know we have a lot of various municipal needs that we want to try to address. So there's a lot to that. On the vaccine front, we, like everybody else, are trying to make sure that we can be as intentional and thoughtful and as kind of aggressive as we can be about finding people who haven't yet been vaccinated, who really, will either they want to be and they haven't been able to find their way to it, or they may need a little reassurance and then they would like to be. So we're working through all those things as well. The future of work, we had a meeting yesterday morning with the North Shore Alliance for Economic Development about, was that yesterday? I forget, Kim, Tom. Yeah. The future of work. How much in the near term going forward will be remote versus in person?
Mhm.
How are people going to find their way with that? What's optimal? What will businesses and employees find as optimal? Some of that flexibility around both flex time in office and also remote work opportunities, and how does that balance in with the times you need to be in person to get the greatest benefit of an effort? So I think everybody's going to be finding their way to that, and we as municipal entities with our own departments and sets of employees, as well as kind of helping brainstorm that and work through it with our local business communities. So lots to do, there's no doubt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could ask, go around the batting order one more time, maybe with a minute and a half wrap up, starting back up in Amesbury with Mayor Gove.
Yeah, sure. I can be brief. I love these calls. It's just a nice reminder that we're all in such different places, and we have communities not that far from us who are still red and yellow and still very much in the battle against COVID-19, and that we in Amesbury and Newburyport too, in this region, we're so fortunate to have crossed that benchmark and surpassed the goal of having more than 70% of the eligible individuals in our community who are vaccinated, and being able to really celebrate that and move on in our reopening. So, just thinking about how we can help all of you, let us know, and just reminding our community that there are other communities near us in that situation. And as we think about traveling, people cross borders, they're still commuting to work and they're going into these other communities. It's just a great reminder. We are doing some of the things that we've talked about, and you've heard others say, seeing the arrival of materials from our shared spaces grants, and bringing in a tot park, and we're putting out free Wi-Fi so that people who are working remotely can get out of their house and do it in some of our public spaces. We're in the middle of our budget hearings, and really prioritizing how to activate those public spaces and make them safe and enjoyable all year round, as we've seen that demand that over the last year, and we don't think that's going to change. And we're working with the businesses to make some of the changes we've seen more permanent, and thinking about what that's going to look like next year and moving forward too. So we're certainly very busy, as Mayor Cahill said, and thinking about what the future looks like for us, and happy to keep people updated.
All right, we swing over to Newburyport now. Mayor Holliday.
Hi, I think one of the things that is really a strong theme that has come through this conversation this morning is, how important the networks that we have with each other, and how we share, we reach out, we use each other for, whenever there's issues that come up that we need support, and particularly for border communities, for, Amesbury, Salisbury, and Newburyport was invaluable, on the same things as we're dealing with New Hampshire residents coming in over the border, and really coordinated our efforts, and it really made a difference in terms of us being able to move our communities forward. I think that as we advertise and celebrate the reopening, that we can again support each of our communities in terms of popping over to events that are happening in across the North Shore, and helping to celebrate where we are. it is exciting. I know as Mayor Thakin was saying, it's not like we can just turn the light on and just all of a sudden, okay, all those concerts are ready to go. It's, we've lost a year of fundraising, and, it's going to take a little bit of effort, and ask people to be patient as we cobble together, our festivals and events to bring them back and bring people back into our communities. But, one of the things that I think is really troubling for all of us is employment. How do we get workers into our communities at this juncture? I was encouraged to read this morning that there is going to be that requirement again that you do have to look for work if you're receiving unemployment, but it would be nice if you could actually take a job, because we have vacancies everywhere. I mean, restaurants are not being able to open, 7 days a week because they can't find help. And so, we're asking people as you come back to understand that, staffing is low. It's going to take longer. Be patient. And if you're looking for a job, you can come to any one of our communities and walk into probably just about anywhere and get an application. And so we're trying to figure out, as chambers, as we come together, is there something we can do to try and help deal with this major gap in employment? But that's a hurdle that we have to work through, and hopefully with some support from the legislatures in terms of encouraging people to come back to work, we can fill these positions to really help our businesses. But I really appreciate the opportunity to be with our peers today, and it's really good to see all of you. And I so look forward to our meeting when we can all be together. I miss you all.
Thank you, Mayor Holliday. To Gloucester and Mayor Thakin.
Echo what everyone has said. It's kind of hard too, Donna. I'm, hugging, loving, type and everything else. As the Sicilian comes out of me and you're going like, you don't know what to do. And it's like, but the fact is, you know what, we need to embrace each other. And that's one of the main goals is some people might not want to get vaccinated. We got to figure out why. And I agree with the other mayors from Lynn and Lawrence, where they have a larger minority. What we did is, because I realized too that, everyone assumes that the dialects are the same. So you can translate something as Spanish, but the dialects, it depends where they come from. The same thing with Italian, Sicilian. It's a dialect that doesn't exist. It's a language that doesn't exist. You cannot read or write it, so what we did is, and we're going to continue to do, our Board of Health is going to reach out to figure out now, we had no COVID testing, no vaccine. Now it's too much. And how do we get the people there? We got to go to their neighborhoods and stuff. We did small videos that I had some volunteers that were on the Human Rights Commission or some of our employees that spoke different dialects of Spanish. And just an everyday person just did not a prepaid video, so people can say, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. Because I realized working at the hospital that a lot of people went to the emergency rooms because they felt safer at a hospital and not a clinic. And we had to go through that transformation of how do we get people to trust us. It's the same thing in their dialect. They're not going to understand these, especially they were saying some of the elders, why aren't you? It's not just the transportation. It's like, I'm afraid, they said I'm going to die. And to get someone to explain to them what really is happening. And so it's difficult, because when you're just used to getting the flu shot from your doctor and you'll get it from nobody else, you're not going to get a vaccine from anyone else. How do we tell them that they are, nurses and doctors, and what can we do? So we're working on that, but we have everyday operational things. And, summer's coming and we're still looking for summer work just at our beaches and everything else in our restaurants. And they're all feeling the same thing, is that, what? How can I open full time if I don't have a full-time staff? And then don't forget, you always need that backup. And that happened during the COVID, and it's going to happen again until we can get people to say, it's okay, I'm going to go back to work. And it's hard because the fact is too, affordable housing, what I mean? If I worked in Salem, no offense to anyone, if I worked in Salem or lived in Salem and there was a great job in Gloucester, what is it going to cost me to get to Gloucester? So isn't it better that I just stay in Salem for 15 an hour? If I have to go to Gloucester for 17, the transportation's not there. If that's not there, we're still working on that. We have a lot of issues, affordable housing, that we still needs to work on and go forward, because what we consider affordable is not affordable to some people, and it's still not. The fact is that if you do affordable through state and federal money, it's a different rate. We have in our charter and our ordinance, if you do the affordable, it has to be through the HUD, which is through Boston, and at 80%. I can't afford to live there. So, and the way the housing stock is and the way, you know, our children, it's overpriced. And what do we do? How do we bring that? How do we bring that normalcy back? What is normal anymore? How do you figure out what's normal? Do we stay in Zoom? Do you don't stay in Zoom? You know, we can run every day as operations. You're going to have your roads repaired. You're going to have, you know, things happening but the not sure of what's going to happen in September for our schools, who's going to come in, what's the full time, what is it going to look like? We can't predict that, just like we couldn't predict when we were going to open. You know, we thought we had some time, you didn't. It comes with us, and we'll deal with it. And we're very fortunate that we all of us on this here, that we do have a network. We do have that friendship. You know, I would call Kim, what are you going to do with the RP? What do you think you're going to administrate it? Because everyone wants a raise, everyone deserves a stipend, everyone wants all of this, but it's only a one-time thing. This is it. We have 2 years to decide, really, and there's so many things that you can and cannot do, and we're learning every day. It changes too. And just like the CARES Act ended in the end of December, and you know, you cannot do salaries and programs with a one-time. We know we're not going to be able to sustain it. We're fortunate because our budget is happening now, and we're doing, you know, the 2022. There's some communities that they couldn't even do 2021 yet. You know, it's difficult. People don't realize that. You know, we always hear, I pay my taxes. Yes, we understand you pay your taxes. We're doing operational skills. We did that. A lot of us have been working straight out. Our city hall has been open, has not shut, you know, and you know that, Rick, and all of you in the same boat. And we like to say, you know, we're in the same storm, but not on the same ship. But technically, it's all of our concerns: budget, affordable housing, you know, operational skills. And we're very fortunate with the Baker Polito administration, and you know, like she said, the main streets, the grants that are coming in, other programs that come in. I've got great legislators, and they all work together. And that's how we're working together. You got, you know, Ferrante and Lovely and this one and that one. They're all working together to see what's best for, you know, their regions. And it's difficult because I hear what Lawrence is going through and Lynn's going through. And you know, sometimes you're going like, I don't know what it is for them to be red this whole time. When we were red and we were crying and passing out, it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And then you don't realize that your neighbor, you know, your backyard has also been red, and he's just happy he went to yellow. So whatever we can do to our communities, Tom, to, you know, Kendris, whatever help you need, or whatever translation papers or videos we might have to help you out, I'd be more than happy, because we are, especially with tourism, we're all going to go around to each other's communities. We want to make sure that when you do come, either you're vaccinated or you do have your mask, because it's called respect.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We return to Lawrence now, and Mayor Vasquez.
Mayor Taken, thank you very much for, you know, offering support here at the City of Lawrence. We'll definitely connect and see how we can partner up, because at the end of the day, it's like, you know, each of you have mentioned, our community members, we all visit one another. We go to our, you know, each other's restaurants and each other's stores. We go to our neighborhoods. You know, we work in. So we're there. Like, you know, Lawrence members of our community are traveling all throughout the state and even into New Hampshire. So you know, if we can keep Lawrence safe, we're essentially keeping the rest of the region also safe, just like you're doing. So it's a partnership. So I greatly appreciate that. I think one thing will possibly, you know, since your communities are no longer in the red, maybe have like a video announcement saying, hey, Lawrence, you can do it. We got out of the red. Now it's your turn, you know, and do that strong push, you know, and Lynn comes on board, you know, alongside with us and saying, hey, we did it. Amesbury, you know, Groveland. Like, if we hear that push maybe from other folks, it will create that level of comfort of our community members saying, hey, they did it. Now it's our turn. We can do it, guys. Because it's been done elsewhere. So I think maybe just that push for our community members of hope, and it's possible. And it could be something simple, you know, 30-second clip. Hey, my city did it. Lawrence, it's your turn. You can do it. I'm just trying to think out loud and be something creative. But we'll definitely connect with your offices and see if we could do something like that, and then just air it for our community members to hear. Hey, we are capable of doing this. We can vaccinate our people. And we can share, hey, in my city, we vaccinated this percentage. Lawrence, get there. Like, we challenge you to get there. And then we could post that challenge to our residents. So, you know, Mayor Taken, I think that you just came up with a great idea. So I'll take your word on that, and we can do it. You know, and I'm excited to see the work that you guys are doing in each of your communities.
Just as long as they don't say, look, they're gloating, we're a different kind of community and we got to work together on this one to make sure we get, not you can do it. Let's see, we can do it together. Because
We
if
can
I
do it
sit there and
together.
say, well, Lawrence, we did it, you didn't, and now you challenge, we have a football game going on.
That's right, yeah. You know, but we can find a creative way to get it done, so our community will feel the support that is needed, because you know we have a lot of folks that still have that hesitancy level very high, and a lot of it is it's cultural, and you know, and we understand it. You know, it's a large immigrant community, and it's important that we maintain that open dialogue with our immigrant community and let them know, hey, this is safe to do. It's important that we do it if we want to resume our lives like we knew, you know, a year and a half ago. If we want to enjoy the Feast of the Three Saints, you got to do it. If you want to come to Semana Hispana, which is the largest Hispanic festival in our region, you got to do it. You know, we have the Bread and Roses festival. You got to do it. So do we want to resume life and come back? Let's get this done. And, you know, and I feel that level of support from other municipalities who have a big impact in our community members, especially because a lot of our workforce, it's actually, they live here, but they work elsewhere. You know, so it's a matter of just collaborating. So I appreciate that, you know, and I invite all of you to Lawrence. Lawrence has so much to offer. And like, you know, the mayor from Gloucester, she said, I'm eager to get out there and I want to visit each of your community as well and enjoy everything you have to offer. So I'm grateful to be part of this panel and you know, have talked about our challenges and you know the great things that we're doing as well. So thank you.
And I challenge the merengue queen because I can merengue.
Let's do that, huh? I'm excited. I'll challenge you for that.
We got to do a commercial, a North Shore commercial for tourism. I want to hop down to the other side of the North Shore now and over to Lynn, where the high school football season, mentioning football, has just ended. Mayor McGee?
Yes, yes. So it was great. Our sports are back in play. We've joined the Greater Boston League. So we're segueing a little bit towards the south. But Everett and Revere have been a big key part of this. And I think the collaboration we've talked about doesn't just reflect the mayors that are on this call, but it really reflects the region. And it's been a great partnership from the mayor of Everett, Revere, Tom Ambrosino over in Chelsea, and all the town administrators as well. So, and I just want to hop back on collaboration, and I'll hop into an issue that Mayor Thakin and Mayor Cahill brought up, and everybody on the call knows I can't stay away from transportation, but we're all sitting here on and we like to talk about where we go from here. And I think the future is bright and strong, and the regional rail opportunity that we've talked about and looked to, and the Fiscal Management Control Board has embraced, at least on the first phase, up to Beverly through the Environmental Justice Corridor, but more importantly, broadly, a regional rail system that brings the 21st century connections for all of us, up on the Lawrence line, all the way to Newburyport and Gloucester on the line that comes through Lynn, Everett and Revere connected to that. So there's an opportunity for us as we collaborated to not lose sight of the major issues that we've always have brought us together as a region, and to really start to focus on some of those things that are also a key piece of our economic well-being, our economic future, and our connectivity in a region that the opportunity sits on our doorstep. So I'll leave with that as that discussion. Hopefully will continue as we move past COVID. We open our communities, we see people back to work, we see businesses opening. We start to understand that the investment in transportation that really is a key piece. And I really strongly believe that you're going to see everybody getting back to the ball games, getting to the festivals, coming together. That means people are going to be riding on rapid transit. They're going to be, because man, they can talk about it. If I live in Salem, I want to get to Gloucester. If I'm on a 21st century system, I can hop on the train, get up to Gloucester, and I can afford to live in Gloucester and work in Salem, or live in Lynn and work in any of these communities and be able to get there in an affordable and efficient way. So I know that's segueing a little way from what we are, but the reality is it's a key piece of what we all think about as we think about today and tomorrow. So look forward to continuing to work with all my friends and colleagues here. And I've said this, I'm not the mayor in January, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to continue to lend my voice to the important things of, as you say, the North Shore. This region is great. We love to live here, work here, and raise our families here, and we'll continue to work together.
Thank you, Mayor McGee. Let's go across the border north to Salem and Mayor Driscoll.
Yeah, I'll be brief because I know we all have another Zoom call to hop on. But just want to, obviously echo all the sentiments and say I'm looking forward to a day that we're not just focused on COVID as much as we are, because I think it'll free up time for all the other areas of interest that we have, from transportation to housing to resiliency. There's a lot of work to do and a lot of opportunities. We think about coming out of this pandemic, using some of those lessons in the relationships that we've formed to not necessarily put Humpty Dumpty back together again the exact same way, and take an opportunity to really think about these systems, whether it's schools and calendars, or how we get to and from each other's communities, how we think about the coastline many of us all share. I think that work is really exciting. And again, looking forward to doing more of it. We do share a backyard. We're all in each other's backyards. And if something is good happening in any of our communities, I feel like it's good for our entire region. And contra to that, if there's impacts, it impacts our entire region. So it's a good opportunity for us to just remember how connected we are, and always enjoy being on these calls and regional opportunities to work together.
All right, let's go across the bridge to Beverly, and Mayor Cahill, you have the final word, sir.
Thanks, Rick. So I guess since I gave Mayor McGee an opening to talk about transportation, he just gave me an opening to talk about climate action. So Mayor Holliday, remember we were in the San Francisco mayor's office coming up on 3 years ago with all our work on climate, and Mayor Driscoll, we're in the middle of writing a climate action plan in Beverly and Salem, a joint 2-city effort to address things like, sea level rise and kind of more destructive storms and heat waves and drought to be concerned with, and how do we address it? And we all are really already engaged in all this work to try to cut greenhouse gas emissions, because this is really all about making sure the earth isn't going to get too hostile for our kids and grandkids to thrive. So what I want to mention is, to that end, the economy has so much opportunity here. Yes, we're all in the immediacy of trying to help our local businesses survive and get back to thriving. And as we look ahead, there's going to be so much opportunity in electrical and HVAC and a bunch of other disciplines. And as transportation and the building sector start to really electrify, I just want to go to the importance of our local voc and technical educational systems and all the opportunity that's out there in these fields. And the fact that, in the R&D world, and we all have great companies and great minds and great educational centers in our communities. So the R&D around clean and renewable energy technology, the R&D around recycling and things like that, it's going to be a big part of what drives our economy going forward. And it's all going to be focused on, both creating really good jobs around here and helping us make real strides towards cutting our greenhouse gas emissions and really limiting the concerns of climate change. So
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has been a most informative hour. And I have reason now to contact each and every one of you to get more information from your offices. So watch for my emails. Thank you very much.